Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on October 14th, 2025 at approximately 8 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my own life, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same philosophies I personally use in order to guide virtually every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years, with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal effort. Now, before we get into things, hats off to Storm in the background. He is our primary moderator, and also, if you pardon the expression, our tech guru to keep everything working. Then we have LA Moon who is our moderator, who sits in the chat room and keeps conversation going or asks questions if necessary. Okay, so hats off to them. Now, right off the bat, who do we got here? We have Ian Madden. You are in with the gold. How you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, today we are looking at beginning your transformation. How are we going to take your life from where it is currently to where you desire it to be? Now, the first thing you got to realize is we've talked about meditation. People talk about prayer and positive thinking. Here's the bottom line. You can have all the thoughts in the world, okay? If you don't get off your tail feathers to make it happen, it's not going to work. Things just won't change. Joe, you are in with the silver. How you doing? Glad you could join us. And Ken Stockler, you are in with the bronze. Boy, we got a whole bunch of new people getting in through the gate first. Hopefully things are going well for you guys. By the way, we are now up at 696 right now in the way of subscribers. Now, how to begin your transformation? Well, the first thing you got to realize is that change is up to you. So where do we go? Well, the first thing you do is look in the mirror and ask yourself one thing. Are you content with the way your life is at this point? If the answer is yes, then sit back and let it continue. If the answer is no, then you've got some interesting options. Now, to give you an idea on my end, okay, and you can do anything. You can literally focus on anything. In my case, my health is a priority consideration. So right now, I've just discovered that much of the problem I'm having with the sensations in my legs, or more to the point, my feet, seems to point towards a problem with myelin, which is achieving around your nerves. Now, I've been told by the medical profession that you can't regrow them, although they are trying to figure out how. Okay, so one of the things I am doing is I am constantly meditating on rebuilding the myelin, the sheathing, to improve the response time. Okay, now the other thing, and I put so much on the back burner, the one thing you got to look at is, what are you not content with? Okay, and Ken is just adding here. Thank you very much, Ken. Ken's just adding, pick up B12 and B6. Now again, guys, I am not a medical show. I am not medically trained in any capacity. However, since it's my body, I can do with it what I will. I will keep you posted on things. There's no question there. Because I don't know about you, but my wife did express some concern about becoming a third-time widow inside the first 2 months of marriage. So we're going to see what we can do about avoiding that. Now, there we have Rachel Andrews. My apologies. is in with honorable mention. How you doing, Rachel? Now, whatever you're not content with in your life. Okay, now I didn't bring it with me today. Usually I have a clipboard here. Okay, so we're just going to have to work with that. But whatever you're not content with, okay, that's what you start changing one step at a time. Okay, I know my diet's got to change. I know my health, I've got to keep an eye on it. Okay, and the physical outlay in my home. So all of this is being changed. Now let me ask you this. In your world, are you content with the way your life is going? Just reading what Joe wrote here. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Now, here's something, and this is for you, Joe, and for all the rest of you. Let us take a look at this whole idea, because Joe's been getting snail mail scam letters. Now, one of the things that meditation can be used for is focus on those scam mail, scam letters, scam emails, and scam phone calls going away, just ceasing to exist. Now remember, you've got to accept the fact that it's possible before you're going to make any headway. Because you keep going, I know I can do this, and no, I can't. That's kind of like trying to cross the monkey bars without letting go of one of the bars. Or try walking without moving your feet. And Cosmic, how you doing? Glad you could join us. This is amazing, quite frankly. We are already at 8 in the room. Now, I use this as simply quantifiable evidence because like I said, I've made it my life's journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, one of the biggest things that society really needs people to start focusing on is communicating with each other. And for that matter, communicating with yourself. One of the important things that we got to look at is that this world, people keep pointing to politicians, industry leaders, the big pharma companies. I'm telling you, we desire this world to change. Start with your immediate circle. Start focusing on the things you're not content with. Okay, in my case, the clutter is going by the way of the dodo bird. Except I haven't gotten anybody in here to shoot it. Okay, one of the things that we got to look at is when you decide your life that you're not content with your life, you start the transformation by thinking about what you're not content with. Because the things that you are happy with, hang on, keep on them. But then you don't have to change them. But the ones you're not content with, those are the ones that you start making minor changes on. If you're not happy with the way your dishes are laying around, hate to tell you this, all the wishful thinking in the world won't make them go away. So it's very important that we take a look at it and go, okay, where do we go from here? Now, we're going to touch on a couple of things that seem to be common. Okay, when people talk about transformation, more often than not, the easiest one for people to recognize is a drop in weight. To start there, take the word lose weight and alter it, even in the middle of a sentence. Alter that word to drop or discard weight. Now, on that note, I will tell you, I've done a lot of talking to different people about it. If you're not content, if you feel you're overweight, okay, what you're aiming for is dropping a pound to a pound and a half a week only. these people that come up with, oh, you can drop 30 pounds in a week, you probably can. But how much damage are you going to do in the process? Okay. You know, so you target a month, a pound to a pound and a half a week. This means only 4 to 6 pounds a month. Needless to say, in simple terms, if you're 40 pounds overweight, it's going to take you 10 months to drop that weight. And you can keep it off. I'm living proof of this. I'm down. When I checked yesterday morning, I was down to 174 pounds from 256 3 years ago. Meaning I'm down over 80 pounds. Not a bad drop if you ask me. Now, that's where it comes to your weight. Where it comes to your eyesight. And I don't usually do this. Okay. I was told as you get older, your eyesight will continue to decline. Now, if we go back 20 years, if I held my glasses right there with my elbow crooked, I could not see my glasses. Now, I've got 20/20 eyesight for reading. And it literally, I contributed to one particular book. And I don't have the ISBN number on me right now, but I do have it recorded. It's a book that's about 40 years old called The Bates Method to Better Eyesight Without Glasses. Now, I don't recommend many books, but that one absolutely made sense. And it literally gave me the key to start changing the way my eyes worked. Okay, if you're looking at the clutter in your house, do not try and do it all in one shot. It's way too big of a challenge, at least in my opinion. Now, there is an old African proverb that goes, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Okay, and the neat part there is the same thing applies to how do you clear the clutter out of your house? One shelf at a time, or 1 inch at a time. You know, one of the neat little things, what we got here? You know, when we look at transforming, all you got to realize to start with is what is it that you're not content with? Because that's the things you got to start changing. Now, if you change it to something you're not content with, all you do is change it again. Remember, you can't alter the past. So how you got to where you are, you can't do a thing about. But you can certainly alter the direction you're going. Okay? And that's done by simply getting an idea in your head, not what you'd like to be. Because let me ask you this. If I were to ask you, would you like to be a millionaire? Okay. Many of you would go, yeah, only you're not looking at the ramifications of it. All of a sudden, there's a whole lot of other problems that come along with it. However, if I ask you, would you like to be able to afford to put food on your table? Most of you are going to say yes. And there is a way to do it in simple terms, which reminds me. Where am I? Don't have one here. So I'm going to hope I remember. But when we start looking at making a transformation, doesn't matter how big your target, you always start with little steps. Okay. Now I was looking at possibly changing my wardrobe, and I may eventually get around to it. It's just not a priority. Okay. But let me ask you this. If there were one thing about your life that you're not content with, oh, there we are. Cosmic Joe's just going, what do we got? Oh, Cosmic's going, he's making lemon and ginseng green tea. And I'm looking at things like that because I figure where it comes to getting my health and yours on track. Don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against Western medicine. I just am a firm believer that exercise and diet can cure a lot more. Okay, and frankly, a lot less expensively. Complete with lack of toxins. But this said, if you're on medication, no matter whether you like being on it or not, make certain you stay in contact with your doctor and you do what they tell you to help get you off it. Okay, because most medication, if you turn around and stop it cold, you'll have a bigger problem. What we got there? Now, one of the other things that we got to look at when we start taking a look at your transformation, the real thing, and this is such a broadband question, I can't cover all the options. I can tell you that every one of your transformations, whether it is changing the way you look, changing the way your health is, maybe changing the outlay of your house, all of these things are doable, but they're all done one step at a time. Okay, and where to begin is the easy part. Wherever you're sitting right now, okay, this is where the transformation starts. Okay. You know, one of the nice parts about it, from your standpoint, is that if you're not content with your life, and there was a series of shorts on TV way back in the 70s, if I recall, that said, "You have the power." And I'm telling you, those 4 words I work with, I am worth it. Okay, those 4 words are certainly something I choose to live by. Okay, because the moment you start putting the effort into changing your life, it will automatically start altering the life of those around you. Simply because of the fact they'll start to see the transformation themselves. Okay, but it is one step at a time. And remember, if your house is cluttered, odds are it didn't happen overnight. Okay, if you're overweight, odds are you didn't put the weight on overnight. But what you can do is you can certainly step back and go, I'm no longer content, so I'm going to alter it. But that starts now. Yes, we can put it off until tomorrow. I don't want to start until the morning because it's a good time. Well, you know, I will warn you. Procrastination has seldom accomplished much of anything. You know, one of the important factors that I look at is the commitment. People keep talking about contracts that you've got when you come here. The contract that you've got when you come here is to yourself. So my commitment to my health, yes, my wife and my kids give me great motivation. But that contract, that commitment to alter my health and my state of being has got to be to me. Okay, that's where it's got to start. Now, certainly, use the motivation of others on occasion. As I've told people before, sometimes you may require the faith of another until you can build enough faith in yourself. Okay, sometimes the fear of losing somebody is all it takes to give you that motivation to alter a given path of yours. Okay, and yes, all things are possible. I'm living proof of this. But if you're dealing with an addiction, I have seen very few addictions that cannot be broken. Okay, now there is one addiction all of us have, and I recommend you maintain it. Okay, because you all require, and in a lot of ways crave, an oxygen input. Stopping that is bad for your health. But when you pick something in your life, and just pick one little thing. Okay, I was watching Justice League on Netflix the other day, and Batman was talking to Flash. Flash is going, "I've never saved somebody before. What do I do?" Okay, and oddly enough, there is a cross correlation here. Batman looks at Flash and goes, "Save one person, just one, and that'll get you started." The same thing applies when you're changing the way your life is running. Pick one thing, make one small change. Doesn't have to be a big change. Maybe it's just a question of, instead of having a coffee first thing in the morning, you're going to have a glass of water. Okay, so you have your glass of water first thing in the morning, then you grab your coffee. It's a small change, but it may make all the difference. Yeah, Ellie goes, "I'll vouch for that. I really need O2. I tried carbon monoxide one day. That didn't work well. So I strongly recommend against it. But whatever it is that you desire to change about you, absolutely pick one small thing and make an adjustment. Now here's the nice part. If you're having a problem figuring out where to start, that's the easy part. If you don't really know where to start, doesn't matter where you start. If you're sorting out silverware, doesn't matter if you start with the forks, the knives, or the spoons. What matters is whether you do something. Yeah, LA goes, "Carbon monoxide makes you look funny." I hate to tell you this, LA, but that means that everybody's chock full of carbon monoxide, if you ask me. Because I tell you, I've looked funny most of my life. But the thing we got to remember is everything is done one step at a time. Even building your savings account, which reminds me, I got to put those markers in place. Even building your bank accounts, you take care of the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. And it works out beautifully as far as straightening things out. Now all you got to do is get used to the idea that you can change your life on your own. Absolutely take motivation from other people. But the time for waiting for it to change, or waiting for the government to come up with an idea to help, or the big corporations to drop their prices so you can afford things, these are all things it's time to stop waiting for. Okay. I mean, you'd have better luck holding your breath until you turn blue, which I don't recommend that. Kind of like I don't recommend being outside until you turn blue. Mind you, I like being warm. The hard part, people tell me that the hardest part in any journey is the first step. I'm here to tell you that's effectively overstated. In my experience, I found that the first step is easy. The second step is usually reactionary. But the third step is when you actually go, "I'm doing it." Now, to put a picture behind that, picture if you've ever seen a kid just learning to walk. I mean, one that's still in diapers, a newborn, really. The first thing they do is they struggle to pull themselves to their feet. Okay. Then they'll take that first step. The second one is usually real quick thereafter, usually because they're trying to catch their balance. Then they get the third step and start deciding where they're heading. It is a challenging road. Making a change to your life, especially, the older you get, the more dug in you get. This seems to be a normal pattern. Now, in my case, I'm 62. Oh, LA's going, governments have in common Oh, there we go. Oh, oops. I agree. The only thing governments have in common is none of them care one whit for the common man or woman. And here's the thing. That's the way it's been for literally millennia. And the thing you got to realize, and this is going to throw some of you for a loop, some of those government officials actually do care, but the system is so twisted, they get stonewalled a lot of the time. Same with many of the medical profession. Okay, now the reason I look into self-analysis so much is because my system is so screwy, they don't even know how mine works. So I figure I'll start off on the other side of it. But here's the other thing. Every single one of you is a member of government. You govern your own body. You govern your own life. So therefore, let's take stock of your life and ask yourself, are you content with where you're standing right now? If the answer is yes, no problem. If the answer is no, it's time to make adjustments. It's time to turn around and go, I'm not leaving it this way anymore. Okay. Cordona, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And by the way, every tool that's out there, whether you're looking at medical journals, astrology, numerology, maybe you're looking at pagan or Wiccan methodologies. Okay. All of these methods have tools or information to add to the greater picture, but it's all connected. Okay, and like I said, right now we're looking at this. I don't know what I'm doing on Friday yet. I got to do that. Only this weekend, my weekend being tomorrow and Thursday, I'm going to make a deliberate point of getting the next week laid out completely. That said, if you've got a topic that you would like me to cover, absolutely, either drop me a line or post it in the chat room here, and I will do what I can to get it scheduled in. Okay, what we're looking at is if we're going to transform this world from the state it's in to the state we would like it to be in. I don't know about you, but a little less stress, that'd be an idea. Okay, it's going to take all of our combined effort because you work on your little part of the world, I work on mine. And sooner or later, those ripples will expand out to hit everybody. Okay, there is this claim of 6 degrees of separation, meaning you know somebody, they know somebody, etc., until you get to the sixth one. And the sixth person knows you. One of the nice little things about this is and I kid you not, I like answering questions in the chat room. But the reality of it is, I find a lot of the time right now, and I don't know if I should take this as a compliment, I suspect. Right now, I don't get a lot of questions in the chat room, but I do get a growing number of people listening. And I've gotten used to the idea that we got up to 11 or 12 in the room today, and then dropped down to 7. Okay, but not everybody is either interested in or ready to make changes. Okay, and that's what this is literally all about. A lot of the time, I go over things because they come to mind, and I know if I've got the question, odds are somebody else does. Okay, it's like I got sent a picture one day of a piece of equipment, and why they sent it to me instead of sending it to an engineer, I don't know. But they fired it off to me, and I took one look at it. I went, well, this is what it is. This is what it's for, right? For me, I don't know where the information always comes from. I do know where it comes to my own personal health, because I'm working in a system that I am in, I'm looking for things that work, that can change my health for the better. Because I'll tell you, at 62 years old, I spent a lot of time doing nothing. Really strongly encourage you not to follow that road. Okay, now, my eyes, I am working, well, my glasses I really should clean, but my eyes, I am working on getting better so I can actually read what's on the screen. Now, to give you an idea whether that works, some of the names on here on the chat room beside the screen, I can actually read them at this distance. Okay, definitely easier with glasses. But whatever it is that you're not content with, this is the time. It's not a question of wait until tomorrow or wait until Monday or the 1st or whatever day. A moment waited is frankly a moment you could have been working on the transformation. So yes, it will take effort. It will take time. And one of the biggest things we got to remember is it's literally up to you. Okay. It's up to you whether or not your life changes. You may run into all kinds of obstacles. Lord knows they're out there. Yeah. Cosmic Joe goes, every time I have the answers, they change the questions. Well, that's the kicker. Don't listen to what questions they're asking. Listen to what question you're asking. Okay, because that's where the key is. And that question you don't change. You may dwell on it. As is said, when recovering memory is the same idea as painting or writing. You don't stop, you don't finish, you just stop. Okay, but the trick to not having the question changed is make sure you're the one asking the question. Like, somebody asked me, who is the prime minister or president or whatever title they have in South Africa? I couldn't begin to tell you. Primarily because, well, frankly, I don't follow politics. Okay, I certainly don't follow the ones in South Africa. Nothing against South Africa, I don't follow them in Canada, which is where I am. But the one real important question for you regarding your transformation, are you content with your life as it is right now? If the answer is yes, then don't change it. Because if you're content, why bother? Okay. On the other hand, if there's even one aspect you're not content with, that's the thing you decide that you've got to change. Well, that's annoying. And I hate to do this, especially since we're only running short, but I have no choice. I have to go and get salt, and I'll explain that when I get back.
Go ahead, Keith. We'll keep an eye.
Okie doke. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I don't fully understand the medical reason for it, but I do know when I start to get vertigo, salt works to bring it into balance. But if I don't catch it early, it ends up being a major problem.
Actually, Keith, I figured that out.
Bonus.
What it does is when you take the salt, it's stimulating the vagus nerve in the back of your mouth, and that's what's causing basically a quick reset of your systems, and so that's why your dizziness goes away.
Oh, perfect.
There you go.
It was funny. I was in the hospital and I asked them, and what I was told by one of the nurses was it helps modify your blood pressure. But she goes, I've never seen it happen that fast. Well, my system's screwy at best.
Yeah. Well, it will increase your blood pressure if you take too much salt. That's one of the curses of it. But in this case, I actually did some research and discovered that yes, it in certain individuals, mostly those with weird anatomies like you, me, Lynn, it actually triggers the vagus nerve and stops the dizziness. So there you
Well,
go.
I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah, me neither.
Because, I mean, let's face it, all I do is lick the tip of my finger,
Yep,
dip it in the salt, and that's all it takes.
yep. But that's due to triggering your vagus nerve and doing a reset. There you
I
go.
appreciate that there, Storm, and I'm sure the listeners appreciate it.
All right.
Operation has asked, I've made some positive changes in my life, and I've been trying to get someone close to me to make some changes, but they're not ready yet. Any advice on how to help them get started? Sad to say, Cosmic, or sad to say, Operation, definitely point them in the right direction. The best thing I can suggest is when they make a complaint that they're not happy about this, about whatever it is. Not if you think they're unhappy, but if they say they're unhappy. Ask them, have you made any adjustment to it at all? They're likely to say, no, I don't know where to begin. That's when you look at them and go, it doesn't matter. Just pick one thing that you're doing and alter that. You know, one of the obvious ones for me was when I really started down this journey. My dad always taught us one way. There was one sentence from a poem that I remembered we used every weekend for 13 years. Can't is a word that is foe to ambition. Now, there's a whole lot more to it. But that one sentence I hung on to. And what I found when I started altering my language, my own linguistical response, was anytime I actually said the word can't, and I still do this to this day. Okay, if I go, I can't do that, I'll stop myself and go, well, I can, I'm just choosing not to. Okay, now there are certain things I do not recommend, but get them to, all you do, Operation, is if they're complaining they're not happy about something, ask what they have changed to alter that path. Okay. Now, I will tell you, if people are complaining about their finances, that is something that takes a little bit of, takes a lot of effort and a lot more focus, but is also doable. Okay. So it's one of these things, again, if it's something that's complicated, absolutely either bring it up here and I'll tell you how to break it, because everything I do here is free. Okay. If you go to the buymeacoffee.com/inner voice J, you'll find all the books I've written and find out how to get a hold of me directly, because I still do spiritual, personal, and business consulting. And I've only been doing that now for over 50 years. Just a little bit of time. But the other thing that you look at, Operation, is you're making changes in your life. As you make successful changes in your life, it will prove to be an inspiration to other people. So this is something that will also help. And yes, for those of you that are wondering, I have, the last couple of months, I've obviously neglected the magazine. The sad part is, a marriage, that's a good reason to postpone things. Illness, death, those are a little bit, little harder to avoid. And now I'm just trying to reset things. Well, no, correction. And there's one of those nasty words. I'm resetting things in order to get back on track. And I'm telling you, postponing what you're doing, postponing making a change, isn't going to get it done any faster. As a matter of fact, it will in all likelihood slow it down. Or at least you won't make headway. So, from this point, there we are. Yeah, LA's going. She goes. I find asking them what I can do to help. Do you need to talk to help you start it out? Just a couple of ideas. And again, and thanks very much for that, LA. Again, this boils down to that thing I've been talking about. Communication between all peoples is critical to change society's path. We cannot rely on, well, you can rely on the government, on the major media moguls, on the major media outlets, on the religious guy, on the spiritual guides. You can rely on any of them. You've seen what state the world's in, I'm presuming. Apparently, those methods aren't working well. So, I'm putting it back in your lap. If you desire, or more to the point, when you desire your life to change, that's when you get off your tail and start doing things to make minor modifications. They don't have to be big. Okay. It boils down to an issue of making certain that you're doing things that work for that you can feel the changes in. Like I'm going to be, once my chest heals, I'm going to be working on putting my muscle back in. Right now, I'm not doing anything with muscle, primarily because I like the idea of being able to breathe without pain, and that's my priority. But it's a question of one step at a time. Okay, and waiting for somebody else to tell you this is a good time. Wait until the first of the month because it's easier. I'm here to tell you, waiting till the first of the month, till 12 o'clock noon, there's only one time you wait for something. If you're waiting for sunrise, sorry guys, wherever you are in the world, you're going to have to wait for it to get there. Okay, but any change you're making to your life, start now. Okay, certainly, if the change requires going to somebody else, you got to take into consideration their schedule. But where it comes to personal transformation, that can begin right here, right now. Okay, and just make a small change. That's all. Okay, hopefully this is making sense. One thing that I keep looking back on, and I've done this for years, I look back and go, here I am, 62 years old. I wasted so much time. Well, here's the thing. I can't do a thing about my leaving things until now, but I can certainly point out the pitfalls of doing so, and maybe encourage you to start your transformation before it gets that late. Okay, I know a lot of you are younger than I am. There's a lot more younger than me than there are that are older. But that's because, well, I'm over 60. Okay, but if I can turn on the light enough that you don't have to go through what I'm going through, maybe, just maybe, it won't feel like I wasted so much time. So much just took a lot of time to research how many different ways I can do things, especially the ones that aren't effective. I like the way that who was it now? Bell, I think it was. No, I think it was Bell. Nope. Okay, I'm drawing a blank on it. The gentleman that tapped in on on the light bulb, Edison. Okay, when he was asked what he thought about the 400, and I'm just using the number that they used, the 400 failed experiments, how he felt about them, and he says, "I didn't fail at one of them." He said, "I successfully found 400 ways that wouldn't light a light bulb." Now, when you keep that in mind, maybe the setbacks you go through won't be quite so bad, won't feel quite so bad. For me, it really boils down to at this point that I am looking at changing my life so I can actually enjoy the rest of it. Okay. Now I will tell you, I won't be doing push-ups anytime soon. But that has to do with the damage to the chest. one of the other things I look at is when you're looking at making a change, ask yourself, is this something that you feel requires changing, or is it something somebody else is telling you requires changing? Because I will tell you, the number of people I've talked to where doctors said, you've got to lose weight, okay, or you've got to quit drinking, or this is going to happen. If you're not ready to make that change, all the highly educated people in the world telling you, even people that have been through it won't sink in until you get to the point where you go, I'm ready to change. Oh, there we go. LA goes, I needed to clean the floors. The night before, I assembled broom, dustbin, vac, rags for the corners, dust rags, and light cleaners. First, assemble the job and then set to them without interruption. I absolutely agree. Because I tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've started a project on, I'm trying to get this done, and I forgot to get part of it. Okay, mind you, with a memory like mine, I'm not surprised I forget things. But the important factor is decide what you're doing and think about all you want. Make all the written projects down that you'd like until you get off the couch and make a physical adjustment. It doesn't happen. Okay, so that's why I say not just tonight, but now is the time for you to start altering things in your life. Okay, maybe you're looking at starting an exercise regime. Start small. Okay, like when I get back to exercising, I'll start on my back, laying down and just simply doing leg lifts just to start getting things moving. I've already made the mistake of trying to make too many changes all at the same time. And as Storm has put up here, the formula I discovered a long time ago is success literally equals belief plus focused effort. LA, thank you very much. Just been told we're down to the 14-minute mark. Now, many people say it takes a lot of work to be successful. Well, let me point something out. I've got a felt pen in my hand. Let me change over so I make sure I do that right. Oh, that is not what I needed. That is. Okay, hold the pen up. I've got it in my right hand. I don't desire it there. It's not a lot of difficulty to change it. I put it over in my left hand. You'll notice it's not in my right hand anymore. This is a minor change, but it accomplished what I was aiming for. And what we got to realize is that every change in your life is just as simple when you start with the small things. I don't desire to wear my glasses right now. Doesn't take a lot to remove them. Okay. If you are, when you reach a point where you're not content with some aspect of your life, don't wait for the rest of it. Take that one aspect you're not content with and start altering it. This is critical at this point because the longer you delay it, the longer it's going to take for you to finish it. Okay, now let's face it, whether you change the path your life is on or you don't, isn't going to have a lot of bearing on how my life goes. Certainly, I like hearing about people's changes, and about the improvements they're making to their own life. But is it going to make a big impact on my life if you don't do so? Not really. Philip, how you doing? Glad you got here. Hopefully your day has been going well. So of course, when I get done this stream, I will carry on making changes with my life. Okay. And as time goes on, I'll keep you posted. The important factor here is I'm hoping to do this in such a way, in such a way that I can become an inspiration for you to change your own life. Oh, I can't read that. I'm not sure what Philip wrote. I don't even know if that's quite English. But when you're looking, when you look at your life, whatever aspect it is, we're not talking about changing all of your life. Okay, we are talking about changing just one aspect at a time. Okay, and remember, not all, like most changes are not permanent. I'm back as far as my healing there, Philip. I'm back able to take a deep breath again without being in pain. So this is an improvement. And for the first time since I got diagnosed with diabetes, I managed to get my blood sugar down to 7.5, which is still high, but it's a marked improvement over the 22.8 yesterday. Okay, one of the important things we have to realize is change happens when the person desiring to make the change gets off their tail feathers and makes an adjustment. No matter how small it is, it's still a change. And it's the little changes that add up to make the big ones. Okay, but you have to accept the fact it's possible first. And of course, as I mentioned before, where it comes to language, especially with the word can't, right? If you utter the word can't, or for that matter, if you think it, immediately cut yourself off and go, well, I can do that. I'm just choosing not to. Or, I can't do that. Well, not yet anyway. Like, I am not one to look at a computer and go, I can program a computer. I'm lucky if I can get the thing turned on properly. Oddly enough there, Philip, we were reading some medical articles, and the doctor said, if you're trying to reduce, the doctors in the journal said, if you're trying to reduce pain in your chest, one option is to stop breathing. But that's not a good option. I'm thinking you have to write that in a medical journal. I was pretty much under the understanding that most people realize if you're not breathing, this is bad. But your transformation right now starts at this moment. Now you can make any excuse you'd like. You can blame anybody you'd like. Maybe you're going to look in the mirror or look in the video. You're going to look in the screen and you're going to go, Keith didn't tell me it starts now. He said I can change my life. But he never told me I could start it now. Keep in mind, I also didn't tell you couldn't. But it is literally up to you when that change starts taking place. Okay, and one of the other things that I always look at, or as often as possible, especially if I'm getting depressed, which I went through a bad bout of that today, is you get to a point you go, okay, I got a choice. I can either stay looking at the depressing side, or I can do something about it and I can make a change. Again, a simple change may be all it takes. Maybe if you're fighting depression, maybe you just grab the music box, grab YouTube, find a fast dance-paced song, crank it as high as socially acceptable, and let it run. It will bring your spirits up. Yeah, Philip, that's very much the case. Dead people don't need to breathe either. That works out kind of well that way. But, one of the things we have to realize is change has to happen when you're ready. One small step at a time. That's all it takes. Now, with that in mind, we're just hitting the 5-minute mark. So, with that to be said, At least I think we are by my clock. With that in mind, I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Hopefully, this has been helpful. Okay, let me know if it hasn't or if you've got other topics you'd like to look at. But we will be back again on Friday, 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. Pacific. Okay, and we are going back to the alien side. I just don't know exactly about what. I'll get to that. That said, until we meet, thanks so much for sharing your time with us. Why are we here? Until we meet again, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.